She hid her pregnancy and disappeared. The CEO was surprised to see her 2 children 5 years later. The gleaming kitchen of Savor, Boston's most anticipated restaurant opening of the year, hummed with focused energy. Layla Bennett moved through her domain with practiced grace, her dark hair secured beneath a crisp white chef's cap. At 32, she had built her reputation through determination and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Tonight's opening would cement her status among the culinary elite. 5 minutes to first seating, called out her sous chef, Michael. Layla nodded, surveying the immaculate workstations. Everything is perfect, she murmured, more to herself than her staff. Perfect had to be the standard tonight. She couldn't afford any distractions, especially with her twin boys spending the evening with their grandmother. The thought of Lucas and Nathan brought a smile to her face. At 5 years old, they were bundles of endless energy and curiosity, their matching green eyes always sparkling with mischief. Those eyes. Layla pushed the thought away. She couldn't think about their father. Not tonight. Chef, the first guests are being seated, announced Regina, her maitre d', appearing at the kitchen entrance, including some VIP tables. Excellent. Let's make this night memorable. Layla clapped her hands, drawing her team's attention. Remember, every dish tells a story. Let's make sure ours is unforgettable. The kitchen burst into synchronized movement as the first orders began arriving. Layla lost herself in the familiar rhythm, the sizzle of pans, the precise chopping of herbs, the artistic plating of dishes. This was her element, where she felt most in control. That control shattered 90 minutes into service. Chef, Regina's voice carried an unusual tremor. There's someone at table 12 who's specifically requesting to speak with you. We're in the middle of service, Layla responded without looking up from the delicate sauce she was finishing. Unless Gordon Ramsay himself is out there, it can wait. Regina hesitated. It's Ethan Coleman. The ladle in Layla's hand clattered against the pot. For a moment, the kitchen's cacophony faded to white noise. 5 years. It had been 5 years since she'd heard that name spoken aloud, though it had echoed in her mind every time she looked at her sons. Chef? Michael's concerned voice brought her back to reality. Do you need me to take over? Layla straightened her spine, squaring her shoulders. No, I've got this. She handed the sauce to Michael with steady hands. Finish this with a touch of tarragon. I'll be back in 5 minutes. The walk from kitchen to dining room felt like traversing a minefield. Each step brought her closer to the past she'd carefully walled away. Through the elegant dining room's ambient lighting, she could see him, Ethan Coleman, looking exactly as powerful and devastating as he had 5 years ago. His dark suit probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, but he wore it with the casual confidence of someone who never thought about price tags. His black hair was still perfectly styled, though perhaps with a touch more silver at the temples. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart, the same intense green that smiled at her every morning from her sons' faces. Ethan stood as she approached, his 6'2" frame commanding attention from nearby diners. Layla, he said, his deep voice sending unwanted shivers down her spine. The years have been kind to you. Mr. Coleman, she replied formally, noting how his jaw tightened at the professional distance. I hope you're enjoying your meal. The food is exceptional. His eyes never left her face. Though I must admit, I was surprised to learn you'd opened a restaurant in Boston. Last I heard, you were in Chicago. The subtle accusation in his tone made her fingers curl into fists. People move. Cities change. Was there something wrong with your meal? Nothing at all. He gestured to the chair across from him. Join me for a moment. I'm in the middle of service. 5 minutes, Layla. After 5 years, I think you owe me that much. The barely contained emotion in his voice made her glance around the dining room. The last thing she needed was a scene on opening night. With practiced composure, she sat, placing her napkin in her lap with deliberate movements. I'm listening. Ethan leaned forward, his presence overwhelming even across the table. Why did you really leave Chicago? I believed my resignation letter was quite clear. Your letter was diplomatic bullshit, and we both know it. His voice remained low, but intensity blazed in his eyes. One morning you're in my bed, talking about our future, and the next you've vanished. No real explanation, no forwarding address. Just gone. Layla's heart hammered against her ribs. People leave relationships all the time, Mr. Coleman. Sometimes they're just not meant to be. Is that what you tell our sons? The blood drained from her face. The dining room tilted dangerously for a moment before she gripped the edge of the table, How? She managed to whisper. I saw them earlier today, at Franklin Park Zoo. His knuckles were white around his water glass. I was there for a charity board meeting. Imagine my surprise when I saw a woman who looked like you, with two little boys who have my eyes, my mother's chin, and according to the birthday hats they were wearing, are exactly 5 years old. Layla felt the carefully constructed walls of her life crumbling. Mick, you were following me. I didn't need to. Your mother posts quite frequently on social media. She's very proud of her grandsons, Lucas and Nathan. His smile held no warmth, though interestingly, she never mentions their father. Don't. The word came out sharper than she intended. Don't you dare make assumptions about things you don't understand. Then help me understand, Layla. He reached across the table, but she pulled her hands back. Help me understand why the woman I loved disappeared without a trace. Why I have 2 sons I knew nothing about. Why? Chef, Michael's urgent voice cut through the tension. We need you in the kitchen. Now. Layla stood so quickly her chair scraped against the floor. I have to go. This isn't over, Ethan said, his voice carrying the same authority that had once commanded boardrooms in her heart. We will finish this conversation. No, she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. We won't. Please enjoy the rest of your meal, Mr. Coleman. It's on the house. She walked away with measured steps, refusing to run, refusing to let him see how badly he'd shaken her. But as she pushed through the kitchen doors, her hands trembled. Her carefully constructed world had just collided with her past, and the aftershocks threatened everything she'd built. In the kitchen's familiar chaos, she braced herself against a prep table, taking deep breaths. She could handle this. She had to handle this. Her sons' futures depended on it. Chef? Michael touched her shoulder gently. Are you okay? Layla straightened, pushing her emotions deep down where they belonged. I'm fine. What's the situation? But even as she immersed herself back into service, she knew nothing would ever be fine again. Ethan Coleman was back in her life, and this time, he knew about their sons. The real battle was just beginning. 2 days after the disastrous opening night of Savure, Layla stood in her home kitchen, watching her sons devour their breakfast. Lucas meticulously separated his blueberries from his pancakes, while Nathan drowned everything in maple syrup. Their matching dark curls caught the morning sunlight, and for the 1,000th time, she saw Ethan in their features. Mom, can we go to the Science Museum today? Lucas asked, careful not to speak with his mouth full, a rule she'd drilled into both boys since they could talk. Not today, sweetheart. Mom has meetings at the restaurant. She tried to keep her voice light, though her stomach churned at the thought of returning to Savure. Ethan hadn't appeared again after that first night, but his presence lingered like a storm cloud on the horizon. Nathan looked up from his syrupy creation. Can we come with you? We promised to be quiet. Yeah, Lucas chimed in. We can do our homework in your office. The doorbell rang before she could respond, its chime echoing through their brownstone. Layla froze. Nobody ever visited this early, and certainly not without calling first. Boys, stay here and finish your breakfast, she instructed, her protective instincts kicking in. Through the kitchen window, she caught a glimpse of a black town car parked outside. Her heart rate doubled. The doorbell rang again as she approached, more insistent this time. Through the frosted glass panels, she could make out a tall silhouette. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. Ethan stood on her doorstep, looking devastatingly handsome in a charcoal suit that screamed corporate power. His green eyes, so like their son's, held a mix of determination and barely contained anger. How did you find my address? She demanded quietly, conscious of little ears that might be listening. I have resources, Layla. You know that. He stepped forward, but she blocked the entrance. We need to talk. No, we don't. And you can't just show up at my home unannounced. Like you couldn't just disappear with my children. His voice remained low, but the edge in it could have cut glass. 5 years, Layla. 5 years of their lives that I'll never get back. Movement behind her made her turn. Lucas and Nathan stood in the hallway, curiosity written across their identical faces. Layla's heart stopped as Ethan's eyes locked onto his sons for the first time. The boys stared back, and in that moment, the resemblance was undeniable. Same green eyes, same determined jaw, same questioning tilt of the head. Nature's fingerprints were impossible to ignore. Mom? Lucas, always the more perceptive twin, stepped forward. Who's that? Ethan's breath caught audibly. Layla saw his hands tremble slightly before he clenched them into fists. The mighty CEO of Coleman Industries, known for his unshakable composure, looked completely undone. "Boys," Layla managed, her voice surprisingly steady, "go upstairs and get ready for school, please." "But," Nathan started to protest. "Now," she said firmly, using her rarely deployed stern voice. The twins exchanged looks but obeyed, thundering up the stairs with the energy only 5-year-olds possess. Once she heard their bedroom door close, Layla stepped onto the porch, pulling the front door almost shut behind her. "You need to leave. They're beautiful," Ethan whispered, still staring past her toward the stairs. "God, Layla, they're perfect. Please," she said, hating the tremor in her voice. "Not like this. Not now. Then when?" He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration she remembered from their time together. "When were you planning to tell me I had sons? When they graduated college, got married, had kids of their own? You don't understand. Then make me understand." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "Because right now, all I can think about is that the woman I loved enough to buy a ring for vanished without a trace, taking my children with her." Layla's head snapped up. "What ring?" "The one I was going to give you the night you disappeared." His laugh was bitter. "I had it all planned. Dinner at Alinea, where we had our first date. But when I got to your apartment, you were gone. Everything was gone." Memory crashed over her like a wave. The terror of that night, the threatening phone call, the proof that had been sent to her phone. Her hands started to shake. "Mom?" Nathan's voice drifted down. "We can't find my blue shoes." The present rushed back in. She had to protect them, had to keep the carefully constructed piece of their lives intact. "You need to go," she told Ethan. "Now. I'm not leaving. Not this time." His voice softened. "They're my sons too, Layla. I have rights." "Rights?" She almost laughed. "You want to talk about rights? Fine. Meet me at my lawyer's office tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock. She pulled a business card from her purse and thrust it at him. "But you will not ambush me at my home again. You will not disrupt my children's lives without warning. Are we clear?" Ethan took the card, his fingers brushing hers. The contact sent unwanted electricity through her arm. "Crystal clear. But know this. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever made you run 5 years ago, whatever you're afraid of now, I'm not giving up. Not on them, and not on you." She watched him walk back to his car, every step measured and controlled. Only when the town car pulled away did she allow herself to lean against the door frame, legs weak. "Mom," Lucas appeared at the top of the stairs. "Was that our dad?" The question hit her like a physical blow. She'd known this day would come eventually, had prepared speeches and explanations, but now that it was here, words failed her. "We need to get ready for school," she said instead, climbing the stairs. "We can talk about this later, okay?" Lucas nodded, but his eyes, Ethan's eyes, held questions she knew wouldn't stay unanswered for long. Her sons were too smart, too observant, just like their father. In Nathan's room, she found the missing blue shoes under his bed, trying to ignore how her hands shook as she helped him tie them. The morning routine continued on autopilot. Backpacks checked, lunches packed, hair combed. But as she watched her sons climb into her mother's car for their ride to school, Layla knew everything had changed. The careful walls she'd built around their lives were crumbling, and she couldn't stop it. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., don't run again. Ethan." Of course, he'd already gotten her number. Inside her house, she sank onto the stairs, letting her head fall into her hands. The truth she'd kept buried for 5 years was clawing its way to the surface. Soon, she'd have to face not just Ethan, but the real reason she'd fled that night in Chicago. The question was, would he ever forgive her once he knew? Layla's heels clicked against the polished marble floors of Anderson and Pierce law offices, each step echoing her racing heartbeat. At 9:55 a.m., she was early, a habit ingrained from years of kitchen management. Her lawyer, Diana Pierce, waited in the reception area, tablet in hand. "He's already here," Diana said quietly, falling into step beside her, "and he brought Richard Montgomery." Layla's steps faltered. Montgomery was the most ruthless corporate lawyer in Boston, known for destroying opposing parties in custody battles. "Of course he did." "We can still postpone," Diana offered, but Layla shook her head. "No, Let's get this over with. The conference room door opened to reveal Ethan standing at the window, his powerful frame silhouetted against Boston's skyline. Richard Montgomery sat at the table, documents spread before him like battle plans. Ms. Bennett. Montgomery's smile didn't reach his eyes. Please, join us. Layla took her seat, Diana beside her. Across the table, Ethan finally turned from the window. The morning light caught the silver in his hair, and despite everything, her heart skipped. He looked exhausted, as if he hadn't slept. Before we begin, Montgomery started, Mr. Coleman has prepared a generous offer. No, Layla's voice cut through the room. We're not here to negotiate a payment. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then why are we here, Layla? To set boundaries. She forced herself to meet his gaze. The boys have a routine, a stable life. If you want to be part of their lives, it needs to be on terms that don't disrupt their world. Terms? Ethan's laugh held no humor. You want to dictate terms after hiding them from me for 5 years? My client had her reasons, Diana interjected smoothly. Really? Montgomery leaned forward. Because deliberately concealing children from their father, denying them their rightful heritage, that's not going to look good in court. Is that a threat? Layla's voice remained steady, though her hands clenched beneath the table. It's reality, Montgomery replied. Mr. Coleman has considerable resources. Stop. Ethan's command silenced the room. He hadn't taken his eyes off Layla. Everyone out. Mr. Coleman, Montgomery protested. I strongly advise. Out. The word carried the weight of countless boardroom victories. All of you, give us the room. Diana touched Layla's arm. You don't have to. It's okay, Layla assured her. Give us 10 minutes. The lawyers gathered their materials, tension thick in the air. When the door closed behind them, silence descended. Why? Ethan's voice was raw. Just, why, Layla? She stood, needing to move, to put space between them. You wouldn't understand. Try me. He followed her to the window. Because right now, I'm imagining every possible scenario, and none of them justify what you did. Your brother, she whispered. Ethan went completely still. What about Robert? Layla closed her eyes, remembering that night 5 years ago. The phone call, the photos, the ultimatum. He knew about the pregnancy before you did. That's impossible. Robert was in Tokyo that month. No, she turned to face him. He was in Chicago. He came to my apartment the day I found out about the twins. Understanding began to dawn in Ethan's eyes. What did he do? He showed me proof, documents, photos, recordings of illegal dealings in Coleman Industries. Enough to send you to prison. Her voice shook. He said if I didn't disappear, he'd make sure you went down for all of it. Those charges were dismissed years ago, Ethan said. We proved everything was fabricated. I know. I followed the news. Layla wrapped her arms around herself. But that night, the evidence looked real, and Robert made it clear. Either I vanished, or he'd destroy you. Why didn't you tell me? He had people watching me. Said if I warned you, he'd release everything immediately. Tears threatened, but she blinked them back. I was 27, terrified, and pregnant with your children. I couldn't risk their father going to prison. Ethan braced his hands against the window frame, his reflection showing the storm of emotions crossing his face. Robert died 2 years ago. I know. Layla's voice softened. A car accident in Switzerland. Why didn't you come back then? Because by then, the boys had a life. Stability. She swallowed hard. And I didn't know if you'd ever forgive me. Ethan turned, and the pain in his eyes made her heart ache. Do you still have the evidence Robert showed you? Everything. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she accessed a secure cloud drive. I kept it all, just in case. He took the phone, scrolling through documents and photos that had haunted her for 5 years. His expression darkened with each swipe. These are good forgeries, he said finally, but I can prove they're fake. The timestamps don't match our actual records. It doesn't matter anymore. It matters. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. It matters because my brother threatened you, forced you to run, made you raise our children alone. I wasn't alone. My mother helped. That's not... He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Damn it, Layla, you should have been with me. We should have raised them together. Their first words, first steps. I missed everything. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. I thought I was protecting you. By breaking my heart. The raw honesty in his voice undid her. Tears spilled over as 5 years of guilt and longing crashed through her carefully constructed walls. Ethan's hand came up to brush away a tear, the gesture achingly familiar. I would have protected you. Both of you. All of you. I know that now. She stepped back, needing distance to think clearly. But we can't change the past. We need to focus on the boys. He nodded slowly. Tell me about them. A small smile touched her lips. Lucas is our serious one. He reads everything he can get his hands on, asks a million questions. Nathan's our adventurer, climbing everything, always running, always laughing. They're close, inseparable. She pulled out her phone again, this time opening her photo gallery. Here. Ethan's hands shook slightly as he took the phone, staring at pictures of his sons, birthday parties, school events, quiet moments at home, a digital timeline of everything he'd missed. I want to know them, he said finally. Really know them. Not just supervised visits or scheduled times. They have questions, Layla admitted. Especially after yesterday. They're smart. They've figured out who you are. Let me take you all to dinner. When she hesitated, he added, Please, Layla. Let me start being their father. She studied him, the man who had once been her everything, who was still the father of her children. Okay, she said softly, but we do this slowly. They come first. Always. His relief was palpable. Tonight? Before she could answer, a knock interrupted them. Diana poked her head in. Everything okay? Layla looked at Ethan, saw the same determination she felt reflected in his eyes. We're working on it, she said. Cancel the lawyers. We're handling this ourselves. As they left the conference room, Ethan's hand brushed hers. Accidentally or intentionally, she wasn't sure, but the contact sent familiar warmth through her veins. Along with a warning, getting close to Ethan Coleman again would be dangerous. The question was, could she keep her distance while letting him into their sons' lives? The elevator ride down was silent, loaded with unspoken words and shared memories. In the lobby, Ethan turned to her. Text me your address, I'll pick you all up at 6. She nodded, watching him stride away. Only when he disappeared through the revolving doors did she let out the breath she'd been holding. Tonight, everything would change. Again. But this time, at least she was choosing it. The chaos of preparing twin 5-year-olds for dinner with their newly discovered father filled Layla's brownstone. Lucas stood before his closet, methodically examining every shirt, while Nathan had somehow managed to put his shoes on the wrong feet 3 times. Mom, is this okay? Lucas held up a navy polo shirt, his expression serious. It's like the one in the picture of him at your restaurant. Layla's heart clenched. Of course her observant son had noticed Ethan's attire that night. That's perfect, sweetheart. But remember, you don't have to dress up if you don't want to. I want to, he said firmly, smooth dark hair falling into his eyes. Nathan, you should wear your blue shirt too. Nathan, sprawled on Lucas's bed, shook his head. I want my Spider-Man shirt. Spider-Man's not fancy enough, Lucas protested. Boys, Layla intervened, sensing an impending argument. You can wear whatever makes you comfortable. This isn't a test, but it felt like one. Every decision, every moment leading up to this dinner carried weight. She'd chosen a simple black dress, professional enough to maintain boundaries, but not so formal as to make the evening feel intimidating for the boys. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. Both boys froze, then exploded into motion, racing down the stairs despite her calls to slow down. Layla followed, heart pounding. Ethan stood in the doorway, looking more casual than she'd seen him in years. Dark jeans, a light blue button-down with the sleeves rolled up, and an expression of barely contained emotion as he faced his sons. Hi, he said softly, crouching down to their level. I'm Ethan. But, he glanced at Layla, receiving a slight nod. You can call me Dad if you'd like. Only if you want to, though. Lucas, ever the spokesman, stepped forward. I'm Lucas James Bennett. This is my brother, Nathan Alexander Bennett. Those are great names, Ethan replied, his voice rough with emotion. Your mom chose well. Did you really not know about us? Nathan blurted out, earning a Nathan from his mother. No, I didn't, Ethan answered honestly. But I wish I had. I would have been here from the very beginning. Lucas studied him with familiar green eyes. Are you staying now? The question hung in the air. Layla held her breath. I'm not going anywhere, Ethan promised. We have a lot of time to make up for. If you'll let me. Nathan brightened. Can we go to the science museum? Mom's always too busy. Nathan, Layla started, but Ethan cut in smoothly. I'd love to take you to the science museum, but tonight, I thought we could try this great pizza place I know. They let you make your own pizzas right at the table. Both boys' eyes lit up. Really? Really? And afterward? Maybe ice cream? He glanced at Layla. If that's okay with your mom? She nodded, touched by how carefully he was handling this first meeting. That sounds perfect. The ride to the restaurant was filled with the boys' chatter. They sat in Ethan's SUV. Not the usual town car, she noted, with Lucas explaining his latest science project while Nathan interjected with sound effects. Watching Ethan in the driver's seat, responding to every question with genuine interest, Layla felt a familiar warmth she quickly suppressed. This wasn't about them. This was about the boys. The restaurant, Piccolo's, proved to be a perfect choice. Their private booth came with child-sized aprons and chef's hats, which delighted the boys. As they decorated their pizzas, Layla noticed how Ethan memorized every detail. Lucas's methodical placement of pepperoni, Nathan's enthusiastic approach to cheese distribution. Mom, look. Nathan held up his creation, which resembled a modern art piece more than a pizza. It's a dinosaur. Very creative. She smiled. What do you think? Dad thinks. The word felt strange on her tongue, but the joy that flashed across Ethan's face made it worth it. I think it's amazing, he said, though Lucas's mathematical approach to toppings is pretty impressive too. Lucas beamed at the praise. I made sure each slice has exactly the same amount. As their pizzas baked, the questions began in earnest. Where do you live? Lucas asked. I have a house in Beacon Hill, Ethan replied, and an apartment in New York for when I work there. Do you have any other kids? Nathan's question made Layla tense. No, Ethan said firmly. You two are my only children, and I couldn't be prouder to be your father. The pizzas arrived, momentarily distracting the boys. Layla used the opportunity to really look at Ethan. He seemed different, softer somehow, the corporate mask completely gone. This was the man she'd fallen in love with in Chicago, not the CEO who'd intimidated her at Saveur. You're doing great, she said quietly. While the boys debated the merits of crust thickness, his eyes met hers. I've never been more terrified in my life. The admission, so honest and vulnerable, caught her off guard. Before she could respond, Nathan tugged at Ethan's sleeve. Can you come to our t-ball game on Saturday? Ethan's face lit up. You play t-ball? Lucas is really good at batting, Nathan reported. I like running the bases. I wouldn't miss it for anything, Ethan promised. What time? As they discussed sports schedules and school activities, Layla watched her sons slowly warming up to their father. The initial awkwardness melted away, replaced by genuine curiosity and excitement. At the ice cream parlor afterward, Lucas shocked them both by climbing into Ethan's lap to better reach his sundae. The look of pure joy on Ethan's face made Layla's throat tight. Mom! Nathan's voice was sleepy on the ride home. Can Dad come over tomorrow? Layla caught Ethan's hopeful expression in the rearview mirror. We'll see, sweetheart. Dad's a very busy man. Not too busy for this, Ethan said firmly. You're never too busy for them. Back at the brownstone, both boys hugged Ethan goodnight. Quick, slightly awkward embraces that nevertheless left him looking stunned with happiness. Thank you, he said softly to Layla as the boys ran inside. For giving me this chance? They're your sons too, she replied. They deserve to know you. He stepped closer, his familiar scent making her pulse quicken. And you, Layla, do you think you could ever trust me again? The question hung between them, heavy with history and possibility. Before she could answer, Lucas called from inside. Mom, Nathan's trying to bring his ice cream upstairs. I should go, she said quickly. I'll text you about Saturday's game. Ethan nodded, but his eyes held questions she wasn't ready to answer. As she closed the door, she caught a glimpse of him standing there, looking like a man who'd found something precious he thought was lost forever. Inside, dealing with sticky fingers and sugar-rushed boys, Layla tried to ignore how natural it had felt, the four of them together. This was about the boys, she reminded herself firmly, nothing more. But as she tucked them into bed, listening to them excitedly discuss their evening with Dad, she wondered if keeping those boundaries would be harder than she'd imagined. Saturday morning dawned bright and crisp, perfect weather for t-ball. Layla arrived early with the boys, watching them warm up with their teammates at Morrison Field. Other parents dotted the bleachers, coffee cups in hand, sharing weekend small talk. "Mom, is Dad really coming?" Lucas adjusted his cap for the 10th time, eyes scanning the parking lot. He promised, didn't he? But Layla checked her phone anyway. No messages from Ethan. A sleek black Range Rover pulled into the lot, just as the coaches called the teams together. Ethan emerged, looking surprisingly casual in jeans and a Boston Red Sox cap. He carried something under his arm. "Dad!" Nathan waved enthusiastically. "You came." Ethan jogged over, grinning. "Wouldn't miss it. Here, I brought something for you both." He unveiled 2 pristine little league jerseys, each emblazoned with a Coleman and their respective numbers. The boys' eyes widened. "These are professional quality," Lucas breathed, running his fingers over the stitching. "Is it okay?" Ethan glanced at Layla. "I should have asked first." She shook her head, smiling despite herself. "It's fine. Boys, what do you say?" "Thank you," they chorused, immediately stripping off their practice jerseys to don the new ones. "Looking sharp, guys," their coach called out. "Now let's get this game started." The boys ran to join their teams, leaving Layla and Ethan standing awkwardly together. "There's room on the bleachers," she offered. They settled into an empty spot, careful to maintain space between them. Other parents nodded politely, though Layla caught curious glances. In a small community like theirs, new faces drew attention. "Lucas is up first," Layla pointed out, as their son approached the tee with careful concentration. Ethan leaned forward, completely focused. When Lucas connected with the ball, sending it sailing into left field, he jumped to his feet, cheering. Several parents turned to look. "Sorry," he said, sitting back down. "Got excited." Layla laughed. "Wait until you see Nathan. He runs like his feet are on fire." As if on cue, Nathan's turn came up. He swung wildly, nearly spinning himself around, but managed to clip the ball. True to form, he took off like a rocket, stirring up dust as he rounded the bases. "Safe," the coach called, as Nathan slid dramatically into home plate. "He always slides," Layla explained. "Even when he doesn't need to. They're incredible," Ethan said softly. "I can't believe I missed so much." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. The restaurant's number flashed on screen. "I need to take this," she apologized, stepping away from the bleachers. The call was brief but concerning. A problem with tomorrow's seafood delivery. When she returned, her stomach dropped. Regina Carter, one of the more gossip-prone school moms, had taken her seat next to Ethan. "So you're the boy's father," Regina was saying. "We've all wondered for so long. Layla's been so private about it." Ethan's polite smile didn't reach his eyes. "Family matters should be private, don't you think?" "Oh, of course," Regina backpedaled. "It's just, well, the boys are so gifted. Lucas leads his reading group, and Nathan's energy is just remarkable. They must get that from your side. We know Layla's always so busy with her restaurant." Layla cleared her throat loudly. Regina jumped. "Oh, Layla, I was just getting to know—" "I believe those are your twins calling you, Regina," Layla cut in smoothly, pointing to where Regina's daughters were indeed waving frantically. Once she'd scurried away, Layla reclaimed her seat. "Sorry about that. Does that happen often?" Ethan's voice was tight. "Was people implying you're too busy for our sons? It doesn't matter what they think." But her shoulders tensed. "The boys are happy and well-adjusted. That's what counts. You've done an amazing job with them," he said quietly. "I just hate that you had to do it alone." The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. "I wasn't completely alone. My mother—" "Speaking of your mother," he interrupted, "she's been watching us for the last 10 minutes. Layla turned to see her mother, Patricia Bennett, standing by the concession stand. Her expression was unreadable. "I should go talk to her," Layla said, rising. "Watch the boys. Always." Patricia met her halfway across the field, arms crossed. "How are you planning to tell me?" "Mom, I had to hear from Regina Carter, of all people, that Ethan Coleman was at my grandson's t-ball game. It's complicated. It's always complicated with him." Patricia's voice softened. "Honey, are you sure about this? After everything, he knows the truth about Robert now." Layla watched Ethan cheer as Lucas caught a pop fly. "He deserves a chance to know his sons." "And what about you? Does he deserve another chance with you?" "That's not what this is about." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because I remember how you looked at him in Chicago, and you're looking at him the same way now." Mom, please. Layla ran a hand through her hair. I can't think about that right now. The boys have to come first. The boys will always come first. Patricia agreed. But don't use them as an excuse to keep your own heart locked away. A cheer went up from the crowd. Nathan had made another dramatic slide into home. Come on, Layla said. Come meet him properly this time. They walked back to the bleachers together. Ethan stood as they approached, extending his hand to Patricia. Mrs. Bennett, it's good to finally meet you officially. Patricia ignored his hand, instead pulling him into a tight hug. You hurt my daughter or those boys. They'll never find your body. Mom, Layla hissed. But Ethan just nodded solemnly. I understand, and I promise you, I'm here for good this time. The game wrapped up soon after, both teams celebrating with juice boxes and orange slices. The boys ran to their family, sweaty and grinning in their new jerseys. Did you see my catch? Lucas asked Ethan. And my slide? Nathan added. You were both amazing, Ethan assured them. How about we celebrate with lunch? 4 pairs of eyes turned to Layla. Please, Mom, the boys begged in unison. We'd love to have you join us, Patricia, Ethan added smoothly. Patricia smiled. Another time. These old bones need rest after all this excitement. As they walked to their cars, Patricia pulled Layla aside one last time. Just remember, sweetheart, sometimes the heart knows better than the head. Watching Ethan help the boys into his SUV, their new jerseys catching the sunlight, Layla wondered if her mother was right. Maybe she was using the boys as a shield, protecting herself from feelings she'd never truly buried. But as she climbed into the passenger seat, listening to her sons chatter excitedly about their game, she pushed those thoughts away. This was about family, about healing old wounds and building new bridges. Her heart would just have to wait. The following Tuesday evening found Layla in her office at Saveur, reviewing supplier contracts when her phone lit up with Ethan's name. The boys won't stop talking about the Science Museum, she answered, smiling despite herself. Layla, Ethan's voice was tight. Turn on the news, Channel 7. Something in his tone made her blood run cold. She grabbed the remote for her office TV, flipping to the local station. The headline made her grip her desk for support. Breaking. Former Coleman Industries executive found alive. Robert Coleman's death allegedly staged. Oh God, she whispered. Get the boys, Ethan ordered. Now. I'm sending security to your house and the restaurant. Don't talk to anyone until I get there. Her hand shook as she grabbed her purse. They're at my mother's. Tuesday is her day with them. I'll have my team pick them up. Stay where you are. I'm 10 minutes out. The newscast continued in the background as Layla called her mother. The reporter's words filtered through her panic. Robert Coleman, previously believed dead in a Swiss skiing accident, was apprehended today in Singapore. Mom, are the boys okay? They're fine, honey. Playing in the backyard. What's wrong? Don't let them out of your sight. Someone's coming to get them. Someone from Ethan's security team. They'll have identification. Layla, you're scaring me. Just, please, Mom. I'll explain everything soon. She barely hung up when her office door burst open. Regina? Her maitre d' looked panicked. Chef, there are reporters outside. They're asking about Mr. Coleman and the boys. Lock the front doors, Layla ordered, switching into crisis mode. And no one in or out except through the kitchen. Tell Michael to run service tonight. The next few minutes passed in a blur of activity. She could hear the growing commotion outside. Camera flashes visible through the front windows. Reporters gathering like vultures. Ethan arrived through the kitchen entrance, flanked by 2 security guards. He'd clearly come straight from the office. His suit jacket slightly askew, his face carved from stone. The boys, he demanded. My security team has them and your mother, one guard reported. They're en route to the safe house now. Safe house? Layla's voice cracked. Ethan, what's happening? He crossed the office in 3 strides, taking her shoulders in his hands. Robert didn't die in that accident. He's been hiding, planning. The authorities found evidence of extensive criminal enterprises, money laundering, fraud, corporate espionage, and documents suggesting he's been watching you and the boys. The room spun slightly. Watching us. Photos. Surveillance reports. He's known about them this whole time. Ethan's hands tightened on her shoulders. I'm so sorry, Layla. I should have protected you better. You didn't know. But her mind was racing. All those times she'd felt watched. The odd cars she'd noticed outside the boys' school. What does he want? Control of Coleman Industries. Leverage against me. Revenge. Take your pick. Ethan's jaw clenched. But he won't get near any of you. I promise. Her phone buzzed. Her mother texting that they'd arrived safely somewhere. Before she could respond, shouting erupted from the dining room. Ms. Bennett, can you comment on your relationship with the Coleman brothers? Is it true you hid the Coleman heirs for 5 years? Did you know Robert Coleman was alive? Regina appeared in the doorway. They're trying to come through the kitchen now. Time to go, one of the security guards announced. Cars ready at the loading dock. Ethan wrapped an arm around Layla's waist, guiding her through the kitchen. Her staff watched with wide eyes as they passed. She wanted to explain, to reassure them, but there wasn't time. The loading dock opened onto a narrow alley where a black SUV waited, engine running. As they approached, a camera flash went off. There they are. Ms. Bennett, Mr. Coleman. The guards moved with practiced efficiency, shielding them as they climbed into the vehicle. Tinted windows blocked the camera flashes, but Layla could still hear the shouted questions as they pulled away. Where are we going? She asked, realizing she was gripping Ethan's hand. Somewhere safe, outside the city. The boys and your mother are already there. My restaurant is being handled. I have people taking care of everything. He squeezed her hand. Right now, we focus on protecting our family. The word family made her throat tight. Here they were again, running because of Robert. But this time, at least, she wasn't alone. He's been watching them their whole lives, she whispered. All those years I thought we were safe. Hey, Ethan turned her face toward him. You kept them safe. You did everything right. But now it's my turn to protect all of you. The drive took them north, away from Boston's lights. Layla's phone buzzed constantly. Staff, suppliers, friends asking what was happening. She ignored them all, focusing on the updates from her mother about the boys. They're fine, playing video games like it's a vacation. Nathan says the safe house has a pool. Lucas wants to know if this means he'll miss tomorrow's math test. An hour later, they turned onto a private road, winding through thick woods. A massive gate opened automatically, revealing a sprawling lakeside estate. Welcome to the sanctuary, Ethan said quietly. My family's most secure property. No one knows about this place except a handful of trusted people. Inside, the boys tackled them both, full of excitement about their adventure. Patricia hugged Layla tightly, whispering, They have no idea what's happening. I've kept them distracted. Later, after the boys were asleep in a bedroom that could have housed their entire brownstone, Layla stood on the lakeside balcony. The night was clear, stars reflecting off the water's surface. Dr. Penny for your thoughts. Ethan joined her, offering a glass of wine. I'm thinking about choices, she said, accepting the glass. 5 years ago, I ran from Robert alone. Now we're running together. We're not running. His voice held steel. We're regrouping. Robert's in custody. His accounts are frozen. But until we know everything, everyone he was working with, all his plans, this is the safest place for our family. Family. There was that word again. I should have told you back then, she whispered. About Robert, about the pregnancy, everything. And I should have seen what my brother really was. Ethan moved closer, his warmth a shield against the night air. We can't change the past, Layla, but we can protect our future. She turned to face him, seeing not the powerful CEO or even the doting father, but simply the man she'd never stopped loving. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. His hand came up to cup her cheek. But this time we face it together. The kiss, when it came, felt like coming home. 5 years of separation, of fear and longing, melted away as Ethan pulled her closer. His lips were familiar yet new, gentle but demanding, promising protection and passion in equal measure. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, reality crashed back in. Robert was alive. Their children were in danger. Nothing was certain except this moment. We should get some rest, Ethan said roughly, his forehead resting against hers. Layla nodded, but neither moved. Above them, stars wheeled in their ancient patterns. Behind them, their sons slept peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering around their family. For now, in this moment, they were safe. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, but this time, they would face them together. 3 days into their stay at the sanctuary, routine began to emerge from chaos. The boys treated it like an extended vacation, spending mornings exploring the grounds under the watchful eyes of security. and afternoons in the estate's well-equipped study room where Patricia maintained some semblance of their normal school schedule. Layla stood in the kitchen, preparing lunch and watching through the window as Ethan taught the twins how to skip stones across the lake. The domestic scene made her heart ache with possibility and fear. Her phone buzzed, a secure line Ethan's team had provided. Michael's name flashed on screen. "How's Sever?" she asked, instead of hello. "Managing, the media circus has died down a bit." Her sous chef's voice was tired. "But that's not why I'm calling. Someone delivered this package for you this morning. Given everything happening, I thought I should tell you first." Her hand tightened on the knife she'd been using. "What kind of package?" "Small box, hand-delivered. The security team already checked it. No explosives or anything. But there's a note. For my nephews, favorite chef." Ice slid down her spine. "Robert." "That's what we figured. The security team has it now. They're bringing it to Mr. Coleman's people." "Thank you, Michael. Be careful." She ended the call just as Ethan and the boys came bounding in, cheeks flushed from the autumn air. "Mom," Nathan announced proudly, "I got 4 skips." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." She forced a smile. "Lunch is almost ready. Why don't you both wash up?" Once the boys thundered upstairs, she turned to Ethan. "Robert sent a package to Sever." His expression hardened instantly. "When?" "This morning. Michael just called. Your security team has it." Ethan pulled out his phone, stepping away to make calls. Layla returned to preparing lunch, hands shaking slightly as she sliced sandwiches. "What did he send?" Patricia asked quietly, making Layla jump. She hadn't heard her mother enter. "I don't know. But he's sending a message. He knows where to find us. He's trying to scare you," Patricia said firmly. "Don't let him." Ethan returned, his face grim. The package contained 2 children's books, first editions of stories the boys mentioned loving during Saturday's t-ball game. Layla's knees went weak. He was there? Or someone working for him was? Ethan ran a hand through his hair. The books came with a note. Family should share everything, including bedtime stories. That son of a... Patricia caught herself as the boys' footsteps thundered back down the stairs. "Lunchtime," Layla called out, her voice remarkably steady. But as she served the boys their sandwiches, her mind raced. Robert had been at the t-ball game, close enough to hear their conversations, close enough to... Layla. Ethan's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. A word. They stepped into the adjacent study, closing the door softly. "I've doubled security," he said without preamble. "Added patrols around the perimeter. No one gets within 5 miles of this place without us knowing." "He was at their game, Ethan." Her voice cracked. "He could have taken them any time, but he didn't." Ethan gripped her shoulders. "This is what he does. Mind games. Psychological warfare. He wants us scared, off balance." "Well, it's working." "Mom?" Lucas's voice came through the door. "Are you okay?" They exchanged glances. Layla took a deep breath, composing herself. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just discussing grown-up things with Dad." When they returned to the kitchen, the boys were deep in conversation about building a fort by the lake. Patricia shot them a questioning look, but Layla shook her head slightly. The less said in front of the children, the better. After lunch, Ethan's security chief, James Martinez, arrived with updates. The adults gathered in the study while the boys watched a movie in the den. "Robert's not talking," Martinez reported, "but his laptops yielded some concerning information. He's been tracking Ms. Bennett and the boys since Chicago. Bank records show regular payments to surveillance teams, private investigators." "What's his endgame?" Layla asked. "Based on the evidence we've uncovered, it appears he was building leverage." Martinez spread photos across the desk, surveillance shots of Layla and the boys over the years. He knew about them from the beginning, but kept that information in reserve. "We think he was waiting for the right moment to use them against Mr. Coleman." "Use them how?" Patricia demanded. "Robert was embezzling millions from Coleman Industries," Ethan explained. "When internal audits started getting close to discovering his schemes, he needed a distraction. What better way than to reveal I had hidden heirs? The media circus would have given him cover to destroy evidence, move assets. But you found them first," Martinez added. "When you recognized the boys at the restaurant opening, it forced his hand. He had to accelerate his plans." Layla studied the surveillance photos, feeling sick. "These go back years. The boys at their first day of preschool, Christmas at my mother's, their 4th birthday party. He's been patient," Martinez acknowledged, building a detailed picture of their lives. their habits, their interests, their favorite books. The package, Ethan growled. A warning, Martinez confirmed. He's letting us know how much he knows, how close he can get. A shout of laughter drifted from the den, followed by the sound of the boys arguing over what movie to watch next. The normality of it made Layla's chest tight. What do we do? She asked. We end this, Ethan said firmly. Martinez, I want everything you have on Robert's operation. Every account, every contact, every safe house. We're going to dismantle his entire network. Already working on it, sir. We've frozen most of his known accounts. But he's clever. There are probably more we haven't found yet. Find them. Ethan's voice held no room for failure, and increase surveillance on anyone who's had contact with him in the past 5 years. Someone's helping him coordinate these deliveries. After Martinez left, Patricia took over den duty, leaving Layla and Ethan alone in the study. She watched him pore over the surveillance photos, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. He's been watching them their whole lives, she said softly, while you didn't even know they existed. Don't. Ethan looked up, his eyes fierce. Don't blame yourself. This is on Robert, not you. I should have trusted you back then. You trusted your instincts to protect our children. He crossed to her, taking her hands in his. And now we protect them together. A sudden commotion outside drew them to the window. 2 security guards were sprinting toward the lake, hands on their weapons. Stay here, Ethan ordered, already moving. But Layla was right behind him, heart in her throat. They reached the back door just as Martinez's voice crackled over the radio. All clear. Just a deer setting off the perimeter sensors. Layla sagged against the doorframe, adrenaline making her shake. Ethan wrapped an arm around her waist, steadying her. We're safe here, he murmured. Are we? She turned into his embrace. He got close enough to hear our conversations at T-ball. He knew exactly which books to send. What else does he know? Instead of answering, Ethan kissed her, fierce and protective, trying to pour all his promises of safety into the contact. When they parted, his eyes blazed with determination. I lost you once because of Robert, he said roughly. I won't lose our family again. Whatever it takes, cash in whatever resources we need. We're ending this. Together. From the den came the sound of Nathan's distinctive laugh, followed by Lucas's more reserved chuckle. Their boys, so precious and unaware of the danger swirling around them. Layla straightened, drawing strength from Ethan's presence and the sound of their children's joy. Together, she agreed. But as night fell over the sanctuary, she couldn't shake the feeling that Robert's mind games were just beginning. Somewhere out there, her former brother-in-law was plotting his next move, and their family was the target. A week into their stay at the sanctuary, Layla woke before dawn to find Ethan's side of the bed empty. They'd fallen into the habit of sharing a room, for safety, they told themselves, though neither mentioned the growing intimacy between them. She found him in the study, surrounded by papers and looking like he hadn't slept. The Singapore police report came in, he said without looking up. Robert's been operating under at least 3 different identities. The accident in Switzerland was elaborately staged. He even had a body double. Ethan, she touched his shoulder. When did you last sleep? I'll sleep when our family is safe, but he leaned into her touch. Martinez found something else. Financial records showing regular payments to someone inside Coleman Industries, dating back to when you were in Chicago. The person who helped him fake his death? More than that. Someone who's been helping him all along. Ethan rubbed his eyes. Someone who had access to everything. Corporate accounts, security protocols, my personal schedule. A knock interrupted them. Patricia stood in the doorway, looking concerned. Lucas is asking for both of you. He had a nightmare. They found Lucas in the boys' room, sitting up in bed while Nathan slept soundly in the adjacent twin bed. His small face was tear-stained. Hey, buddy, Ethan said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. Want to talk about it? Lucas launched himself into his father's arms. I dreamed someone took Mom away, like in the pictures. Layla's heart stopped. What pictures, sweetheart? The ones in the man's phone at T-ball. Lucas sniffled. He was showing them to someone and said Mom used to live in Chicago. Ethan's arms tightened around their son. Lucas, this is very important. Did you see the man clearly? No. He was sitting behind us in the bleachers, but he had a funny accent. Why didn't you tell us about this before? Lucas looked down. I didn't want Nathan to be scared. He gets scared sometimes, even though he pretends not to. Layla sat beside them, running her hand through Lucas's dark curls. You're very brave, protecting your brother. But next time you see something strange, you need to tell us right away, okay? Is the bad man why we're here? Lucas asked. Is he the one who made you leave Dad before? The perceptiveness of their son shouldn't have surprised them, but it did. Layla met Ethan's eyes over Lucas's head, seeing her own pain reflected there. Yes, Ethan said carefully. There are some bad people who want to hurt our family, but that's why we're here, to keep you and Nathan safe while we make sure they can't hurt anyone anymore. Like in Nathan's superhero movies. Something like that. Ethan managed to smile. Think you can go back to sleep? Lucas nodded, but grabbed both their hands. Stay? Just for a little bit. They sat with him until his breathing evened out, each lost in their own thoughts. In the other bed, Nathan mumbled something about spaceships in his sleep. Back in the hallway, Ethan's expression was thunderous. He had someone at the t-ball game taking pictures, right there in the open. Martinez needs to know about this, Layla said. The accent Lucas mentioned might help identify. Her words cut off as Ethan's phone buzzed. He answered immediately, listening intently. When? His face darkened. No, keep the local police out of it for now. We handle this internally. What happened? Layla demanded as he hung up. Someone broke into your brownstone last night. Professional job. They knew exactly how to bypass the security system. Did they take anything? That's the strange part. Nothing's missing, but... He hesitated. They left something in the boys' room. A chess set. Layla's blood ran cold. A chess set. Custom made. Each piece has a photo. You, me, the boys, and key people at Coleman Industries. The note with it said, your move. It's not just about leverage anymore, is it? She wrapped her arms around herself. This is personal for him. It's always been personal. Ethan pulled her close. Robert resented me inheriting control of the company from our father. He spent years trying to prove he was the smarter brother, the better businessman. When he couldn't beat me fairly, he turned to illegal dealings. And then I came along, and I fell in love with you. His voice softened. Robert saw how happy you made me, how you were changing me. He couldn't stand it. So he forced me away, thinking it would break you. Instead, it made me more determined. Ethan's hands tightened on her waist. I threw myself into cleaning up the company, strengthening security, closing any loopholes he might have left. I never knew I was also missing my children's entire early years. A small sound made them turn. Nathan stood in his doorway, rubbing his eyes. Dad, can you make chocolate chip pancakes again? The swift change from intensity to normalcy was jarring, but Ethan's smile came naturally. Sure, buddy. Want to help. As they headed to the kitchen, Layla's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Her hands shook as she opened it. The prodigal family, all together at last. But for how long? Ask Ethan about Amanda Porter. Some secrets shouldn't stay buried. Layla, Ethan called from the kitchen. You coming? She deleted the message, forcing her voice to stay steady. Be right there. But as she watched Ethan and Nathan measure flour, creating a mess of epic proportions, the text haunted her. Who was Amanda Porter? And what new game was Robert playing? Later, after the boys were occupied with their lessons, she found Martinez in the security office. I need you to look into someone, she said quietly. Amanda Porter, and her connection to Ethan. Martinez's expression gave nothing away. Any particular reason? Just a hunch. She didn't mention the text. Not until she knew more. I'll see what I can find. But as she left, she caught his reaching for his phone. Reporting to Ethan, no doubt. The game was growing more complex by the hour, and somewhere out there, Robert was moving his pieces into position. The question was, what would his next move be? And more importantly, who was Amanda Porter, and why did Robert want her to know about her? The file on Amanda Porter arrived 2 days later, delivered discreetly by Martinez while Ethan was on a video call with his board of directors. Layla waited until she was alone in the library to open it. Her hands trembled as she read the first page. Amanda Porter, former chief financial officer of Coleman Industries, died in a car accident 3 years ago. The accident occurred shortly after she'd flagged suspicious transactions in the company's international accounts, the same accounts Robert had been using for his illegal activities. Find what you're looking for. Ethan's voice made her jump. He stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Martinez told you I asked about her. Of course he did. Ethan closed the door quietly. What I want to know is why. Robert sent me a text. She watched his face carefully. He wanted me to ask you about her. And instead of asking me, you went behind my back. Would you have told me the truth? The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, they could hear the boys playing basketball with their grandmother, their laughter a stark contrast to the tension in the room. Amanda was more than our CFO, Ethan finally said. She was investigating Robert's activities, gathering evidence. The night before she died, she called me, said she had proof of everything. The car accident wasn't an accident. No, his jaw clenched. But we could never prove it. Robert's alibi was airtight. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to believe my own brother was capable of murder. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking exhausted. And because Amanda and we had history. Understanding dawned. You were involved. Before I met you, it ended months before Chicago. He met her eyes. But Robert knew about us. He used that knowledge to discredit her findings, suggested she was making accusations out of jealousy. And now he wants me to know about her. Why? Before Ethan could answer, Martinez burst in. Sir, we have a situation. Security cameras caught someone attempting to access the property through the North Woods. They rushed to the security office, where monitors showed thermal imaging of the dense forest surrounding the sanctuary. Single intruder, Martinez reported. Highly skilled. They made it past 2 perimeter checkpoints before we detected them. The boys. Layla's heart raced. Safe. Mrs. Bennett has them in the panic room, as per protocol. On screen, the figure moved with practiced efficiency, avoiding most of the security sensors. They watched as guards converged on the location. Wait. Ethan leaned closer to the screen. Those movements. I know them. Suddenly, the figure stopped, raising their hands. Guards surrounded them, weapons drawn. Dear God, Martinez breathed, looking at the live feed. It's Amanda Porter. The woman being led into the security office looked nothing like her photos from 3 years ago. Her once blonde hair was dark and cropped short, her face leaner, harder, but her eyes were the same, sharp, intelligent, and currently fixed on Ethan. Hello, Ethan, she said calmly. We need to talk about your brother. Layla watched emotions flash across Ethan's face. Shock, confusion, anger. You're supposed to be dead. Robert's not the only one who can fake a death. Amanda's gaze shifted to Layla. Though I had better reasons. The same reasons you ran to protect your children. How do we know you're really her? Martinez demanded. Amanda smiled slightly. Ask Ethan about Paris, 2016, the real reason he ended things. Because you were investigating Robert, Ethan said slowly. You pushed me away to protect me. And then I found proof of what he was doing. But before I could expose him, I discovered he'd arranged my accident. She sat straighter. So I beat him to it. Used his own network of forgers and fixers against him. Why come back now? Because Robert's endgame isn't what you think. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. This isn't about money or revenge. It's about power. Specifically, the power of genetic claims to Coleman Industries. Layla felt ice in her veins. The boys. Robert's been building a case to challenge the company's succession laws, Amanda explained. If he can prove Ethan is an unfit father who abandoned his children. I didn't abandon them, Ethan exploded. I didn't know about them. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is the story he can sell. A powerful CEO who forced the mother of his children into hiding, who never searched for them, who focused on profits over family, while he, the devoted uncle, watched over them from afar. Layla finished, feeling sick. Exactly. With enough shareholders believing that narrative, he could force a leadership change. The boys would be named heirs, with him as their guardian and proxy voter. The implications hit Layla like a physical blow. He wants to take our children. Not just take them, Amanda said grimly. Use them. Turn them into pawns in his corporate war. Ethan's phone buzzed, a text message that made his face go white. What is it? Layla demanded. He handed her the phone. A photo showed Lucas and Nathan's empty bedroom at the sanctuary, taken from inside the house. The message below read, check the panic room. They ran, Martinez and his team right behind them. The panic room door stood open, revealing Patricia unconscious on the floor. The boys were gone. A chess piece sat on the floor, a black knight, with a note attached. Check. Your move, big brother. Layla's scream echoed through the sanctuary as Ethan caught her, preventing her collapse. Amanda was already on her phone, activating what she called her shadow network. Martinez deployed every available agent, But as chaos erupted around them, Layla could only think of Lucas's words from days ago. I dreamed someone took Mom away. Instead, Robert had taken them, and the real game was just beginning. We'll find them, Ethan promised, his voice raw with fury and fear. If it's the last thing I do, we'll find our sons. But for the first time since this nightmare began, Layla wasn't sure they could protect their children from the dangerous game Robert was playing. The chess piece seemed to mock them from the floor, a symbol of all they had to lose. The next 12 hours at the sanctuary devolved into a blur of activity. Patricia, treated for a mild sedative in her system, couldn't stop apologizing. "He had your face," she whispered to Ethan. "I opened the door because I thought it was you. Robert always could imitate me perfectly," Ethan replied grimly. "It's how he closed some of his illegal deals." Amanda set up command center in the study, her laptop linked to a network of contacts she'd built during her years in hiding. Martinez's security team coordinated with local law enforcement, though they kept the true identity of the kidnapper quiet. Layla paced, unable to sit still. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her sons, empty beds. "Got something," Amanda called out near dawn. Facial recognition caught Robert at a private airfield in New Hampshire 3 hours ago. He had 2 children with him. The boys? Layla rushed to the screen. They appeared unharmed. Footage shows them walking under their own power, though they stayed close to Robert. Ethan studied the grainy security footage. They're scared, but holding it together. Lucas is protecting Nathan. See how he keeps himself between his brother and Robert? Pride mixed with terror in Layla's chest. Her brave, smart boys. "The plane was registered to a shell company," Amanda continued, "but I recognize the pattern. It's one Robert used before. They're heading to Switzerland." "Why Switzerland?" Martinez asked. "Because that's where he has the most support," Ethan realized. "It's why the banks he used for laundering, the officials he bribed, they're all there. And where his death was staged," Amanda added. "He has a compound in the Alps, heavily fortified. I could never get close enough to confirm, but I believe that's where he's been hiding these past years." Layla's knees went weak. "He's taking them out of the country. Not if we can help it." Ethan was already moving. "Martinez, get the jet ready. Amanda, I need everything you have on that compound. Layla, I'm coming with you. It's too dangerous. They're my sons." Her voice cracked. "I've protected them their whole lives. I'm not stopping now." A new text arrived on Ethan's phone. "Time to come home, brother. Bring our lovely chef if you want. The boys miss their mother's cooking." "He's taunting us," Amanda said quietly. "No." Layla studied the message. "He's inviting us. This is what he wants. The whole family together." "It's a trap," Martinez warned. "Of course it is." Ethan's voice was steel. "But he has our children. We don't have a choice." The next hour passed in frantic preparation. Amanda's network confirmed the plane had landed in Geneva. Local contacts reported movement at the compound, increased security, deliveries of children's supplies. "He's planning for a long stay," Amanda noted grimly. Patricia hugged Layla tightly before they left. "Bring my grandsons home." "We will." Layla's voice held more confidence than she felt. On the jet, Amanda spread blueprints of the compound across a table. "The main house is here, with underground levels extending into the mountain. Security is state-of-the-art, but there's a weakness in the north perimeter where the rock face creates a blind spot." "That's our way in?" Ethan asked. "No. Robert knows I know about it. He'll expect that." Amanda's smile was sharp. "We go in the front door." "What?" "He wants a family reunion. Let's give him one. But first," she opened a secure case. "We need to level the playing field." The case contained an arsenal of surveillance equipment, cameras disguised as jewelry, electromagnetic disruptors hidden in watches, communications devices practically invisible to the naked eye. "I've spent 3 years preparing to take him down," Amanda explained. "Gathering evidence, tracking his operation. I just needed the right moment." "And now?" Layla asked. "Now we have something he wants more than money or power." Amanda's eyes were hard. "He wants to win, to prove he's smarter than Ethan, more worthy of the Coleman legacy. The boys are just pieces in his game." "They're not pieces," Layla said fiercely. "They're children." "My children?" "Exactly." Amanda handed her a delicate necklace with a hidden camera. "And that's why we'll win. Because he's playing chess, thinking 10 moves ahead. But you're fighting for your sons." The Swiss Alps appeared through the windows, jagged peaks piercing clouds. Somewhere in those mountains, Lucas and Nathan were waiting, probably scared, definitely confused. Layla touched the necklace, remembering Lucas's nightmare about the man at T-ball. Her son had sensed the danger before any of them. Now both boys were living that nightmare. "Tell me about the compound's layout again," she said to Amanda. "Every detail." They spent the remainder of the flight memorizing escape routes, security patterns, anything that might help. Ethan made calls, mobilizing resources and calling in favors from his European contacts. As they began their descent, another text arrived. "Welcome to Switzerland, family. The boys are excited for dinner. Shall we say 8 p.m.? Attached was a photo of Lucas and Nathan in what looked like a luxurious playroom. They were surrounded by toys, but their smiles were forced, their eyes fearful. "Hang on, my loves," Layla whispered to the photo. "Mom and Dad are coming." Ethan's hand found hers, squeezing tight. Together, they watched the Alps grow closer, knowing their children were hidden somewhere in those peaks. Robert might think he was playing chess, carefully positioning his pieces for checkmate, but he'd made one critical mistake. He'd taken cubs from their mother, and Layla was done playing games. The real question was, how far would Robert go to win? And could they get to the boys before his endgame put their children in real danger? The answer waited somewhere in those mountains, and they were running out of time to find it. The Coleman Alpine compound loomed before them, a modernist structure of glass and steel jutting from the mountainside. As their car wound up the private road, Layla's hand found Ethan's, both drawing strength from the contact. "Remember," Amanda's voice came through their hidden earpieces, "I'll be monitoring everything from the surveillance van. Martinez's team is in position around the perimeter, but inside, you're on your own." The front door opened as they approached. Robert Coleman stood framed in the entrance, looking exactly as he had in Chicago 5 years ago, handsome, polished, and utterly dangerous. "Welcome home, brother." His smile never reached his eyes. Layla, stunning as ever. "The boys will be so happy to see you." "Where are they?" Layla demanded. Now, dinner first. We're civilized people, after all." He gestured them inside. "I believe you'll find the chef's kitchen quite impressive, Layla. Perhaps you'd like to help prepare the meal." "Cut the games, Robert," Ethan growled. "We want to see our sons. All in good time." Robert led them into a vast living room with panoramic mountain views. "First, we need to discuss the future of Coleman Industries." "Is that what this is about?" Layla's voice shook with fury. "You kidnapped our children for a corporate takeover." "I liberated them," Robert corrected, "from a father who never searched for them, and a mother who denied them their rightful heritage." "That's not true," Lucas's voice rang out from the stairs. He stood with Nathan behind him, just as in the security footage. "Mom and Dad love us." "Boys," Layla started forward, but Robert's subtle gesture brought armed guards from the shadows. "Careful," he warned. "Let's keep this civilized. Lucas, Nathan, why don't you join us?" The twins descended slowly. They were dressed in expensive new clothes, but Layla could see the tension in their small bodies. "Mom," Nathan's voice trembled. "Can we go home now?" "Soon, sweetheart," she promised, fighting back tears. "That depends on your parents," Robert said smoothly. "Specifically, on your father. All he has to do is sign a few papers, and we can all be one big happy family." "What papers?" Ethan demanded. Robert produced a document folder. "Transfer of controlling interest in Coleman Industries to a family trust. The boys would be primary beneficiaries, with me as trustee until they come of age." "You're insane." "I'm practical." Robert's smile turned cold. "Sign, and you can walk out of here with your sons. Refuse, and perhaps we'll see how the board reacts to evidence of your questionable business practices." "You mean the evidence you fabricated?" Amanda's voice buzzed in their ears. "Keep him talking. We're almost in position." "You really think you can get away with this?" Ethan asked, moving subtly to block Robert's view of Layla approaching the boys. "I already have." Robert spread his hands. "The loyal uncle, protecting his nephews from a neglectful father. The press will love it." "The press will love the truth more," Layla said. She had reached the boys, pulling them close. "About how you threatened me in Chicago, how you've stalked my children their entire lives. Allegations without proof." But Robert's smile faltered slightly. "Unlike the proof I have of Ethan's corruption." "You mean this proof?" Amanda's voice rang through hidden speakers as screens around the room flickered to life. Security footage played showing Robert bribing officials, making threats, coordinating illegal transactions. Robert's composure cracked. How? Did you really think I died in that car crash? Amanda stepped from a hidden door, flanked by Martinez's team. I learned from the best, after all. You taught me how to disappear. It's over, Robert, Ethan said quietly. The Swiss authorities are already on their way. Every account, every shell company, every illegal deal. We have proof of all of it. For a moment, something dangerous flickered in Robert's eyes. His hand moved toward his jacket. Dad! Lucas's warning shout came just as Robert drew a gun. Everything happened at once. Martinez's team surged forward. Amanda dove for cover. Ethan launched himself at his brother. Layla shielded the boys with her body as shots rang out. Glass shattered somewhere. Men shouted. And then, silence. She raised her head to find Robert pinned under Ethan and Martinez. The gun kicked away. Through the broken window, she could see helicopters approaching. Mom? Nathan's voice shook. Are we safe now? She gathered both boys close, feeling their hearts racing. Yes, my loves. We're safe. Ethan joined them, wrapping his arms around all three. His hands trembled slightly as he touched the boys' faces, assuring himself they were unharmed. I'm sorry, Lucas whispered. I tried to protect Nathan like you said a big brother should. You did perfectly, Ethan assured him, voice rough with emotion. You both did. As authorities swarmed the compound, Amanda approached with a satisfied smile. Robert's network is completely exposed. Every conspirator, every corrupt official, they're all going down. Thank you, Layla said softly. For everything. Amanda nodded, then hesitated. Ethan, about us. The past is past, he interrupted gently. We all did what we had to do to survive Robert's games. Outside, the sun set behind the Alps, painting the snow in shades of gold and pink. The boys, exhausted from their ordeal, dozed in their parents' arms. Let's go home, Layla said. As they walked out of the compound, leaving Robert to face justice at last, she felt the weight of 5 years of fear finally lifting. Their family was whole. Their children were safe. The game was over, and love had won. But in the helicopter, watching her sons sleep against their father's chest, Layla knew they had one final challenge ahead, learning to be a family, without fear, without secrets, without looking over their shoulders. It wouldn't be easy, but looking at Ethan's face as he held their boys, she knew it would be worth it. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility and promise, and this time, they would face it together. 1 month after the events in Switzerland, Savor hummed with the familiar rhythm of a busy Saturday night. Layla moved through her kitchen with renewed energy, the weight of secrets no longer burdening her shoulders. Order up for table 12, she called out, adding a final garnish to the plate. Through the kitchen doors, she caught a glimpse of her family seated in what had become their regular booth. Ethan sat helping Lucas with his math homework, while Nathan colored enthusiastically in his notebook. The sight still amazed her, how naturally they'd fallen into the routine of family dinners at the restaurant, homework sessions, and weekend adventures. Chef, Regina appeared at her side. There's a food critic from the Globe here tonight. Everything is perfect, Layla assured her, just like every night. The confidence in her voice was new. These past weeks had changed her in subtle but significant ways. The fear that had been her constant companion for 5 years had been replaced by something stronger: trust, love, and the certainty that her family could face anything together. Mom! Nathan bounded into the kitchen, waving a paper. Look what I drew. The staff smiled indulgently. They'd grown used to the twins' presence in what had once been Layla's strictly professional domain. The drawing showed their family. Layla in her chef's whites, Ethan in a suit, the boys in their baseball uniforms, and even Patricia in her garden hat. It's beautiful, sweetheart. She kissed his forehead. Why don't you show your father while I finish up here? As Nathan skipped back to their booth, Michael stepped up to the pass. Go be with your family, chef. We've got this covered. You sure? Positive. Besides, he grinned. Mr. Coleman's been checking his watch for the past hour. Layla hung up her apron, knowing her team would maintain her exacting standards. Another change, learning to delegate, to trust others, to balance work and family. Ethan stood as she approached their booth, pulling her into a quick kiss that made the boys groan dramatically. Gross! Nathan declared. Totally gross. Lucas agreed, though his smile betrayed him. Just wait, Ethan teased, sliding over so Layla could sit. Soon you'll think girls aren't so gross after all. Never, both boys declared in unison. Layla settled into the familiar comfort of family dinner, listening to Lucas explain his science project and Nathan recount his latest playground adventure. Ethan's hand found hers under the table, their fingers intertwining naturally. The headlines about Robert's arrest had finally died down. He'd pleaded guilty to multiple charges, facing years in prison. The evidence Amanda had gathered had exposed a network of corruption that reached far beyond Coleman Industries. Ethan had emerged stronger, his company's reputation enhanced by his transparency in dealing with the scandal. But more importantly, he'd found his true priority, their family. Dad? Lucas looked up from his homework. Can we go to the Science Museum tomorrow? There's a new space exhibit. Actually, Ethan smiled. I have a better idea. How would you both like to visit the Kennedy Space Center in Florida next weekend? The boys' eyes widened. Really? Really? Your mom and I thought it might be time for our first family vacation. The excitement that followed, questions about rockets, astronauts, and whether they could touch a real spacecraft, filled Layla's heart with joy. Later that night, after the restaurant closed and the boys were tucked into bed at their brownstone, Layla and Ethan stood on their back patio. The autumn air was crisp, stars twinkling above. I got the final report from Martinez today, Ethan said quietly. Every loose end from Robert's operation has been tied up. We're really safe now. I know. She leaned into his embrace. I can feel it. No more looking over my shoulder. No more fear. I've been thinking. He turned her to face him. Maybe it's time for another change. What kind of change? He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small box. Inside nestled a stunning emerald ring, the same shade as their sons and eyes. The one I bought in Chicago was lost, he said softly. But this one represents who we are now. Parents, partners, survivors. Layla Bennett, will you marry me? Tears blurred her vision as she nodded. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The ring slid perfectly onto her finger, catching the starlight like a promise. Mom? Dad? Lucas's voice drifted down. Nathan had another nightmare. They found both boys in Lucas's bed, Nathan clinging to his brother. But these nightmares were becoming rarer. The trauma of their kidnapping, healing with time and love. Want to hear a story? Ethan asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Tell us how you and Mom met, Nathan requested sleepily. Well, Layla settled beside them. It was a beautiful spring day in Chicago. As she recounted their first meeting, edited appropriately for young ears, Layla looked at her family. Lucas and Nathan snuggled between them, their matching green eyes fighting sleep, Ethan's hand covering hers, the new ring warm against their skin. This was what she'd fought for all those years, what they'd both fought for. Not just survival, but this: love, laughter, bedtime stories, and the promise of tomorrow. Outside, Boston slept under the stars. Inside, a family that had been forged in fire and fear embraced their new beginning. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility, and this time they would write their story together. No more running, no more hiding, just love, trust, and the endless adventure of family. This was their happily ever after, and they had earned every moment of it. The end. If you had to face Robert's psychological manipulation to protect your family like Layla did, would you choose to run and hide your children like she did? Or would you confront the situation head-on like she eventually did with Ethan? What would you sacrifice to keep your loved ones safe? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment your thoughts. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.